a big one. That's a big one. That's a giant. Oh, what a fish right there. That's a beauty right there. On that Reins Crawtube, I pitched right up next to that rock right there. And they're up eating crawfish. What a light bite too. Caught some good ones today, and they've all been hitting it light. High pressure conditions. And the bite's been tough, you know. You can't use a heavy jig. You can't use, you know, bait that has a lot of action. And so that Reins Crawtube is an awesome bait for that situation. Look at that fish right there. That's a beauty. What a big largemouth, man. Big smallie. Big smallie. There we go, right there. That was awesome. That's a big smallie, man. What a fish. Knew that fish had to be under that dock. Skipped it right under that dock. That big smallie crushed that Reins Crawtube. What a great bait to fish docks with. Look at the size of that one. That's a beauty. Deep dock, skipped it way back there. She swam out with it. Awesome. Hey guys, Paul Mueller for Reins Fishing. I want to take a second and talk about the Reins Crawtube. Over the last 2 years, this has been a very strong bait for me. I won the national championship in 2014 with it, fishing around cypress trees. I love to Texas rig this bait, and that's kind of what it was predominantly made for, is to fish as a normal standard Texas rig with the arms or without. I actually prefer taking the arms off because I get more of an erratic action with it. But if you leave the arms on, you're going to get more of a straight fall, so it's good for fishing around vertical cover. But if you want it to be erratic and all over the place, I take the arms off. And the key for this bait for me when I'm fishing deep grass especially is when I take these arms off and that bait hits the bottom, that bait stands up. Even on a Texas rig with a 1/2 ounce weight, that bait will stand right up. So I can actually take it, throw it in a pocket, let it hit the bottom, and I can shake it on slack line, and that bait's going to quiver and stand right up. And a lot of times when those fish won't hit on initial fall, and most of your standard soft plastics don't work in that type of situation, you can sit there in that pocket and just shake that bait, and it generates strikes when those other baits won't. So that's kind of what I use it for in deep grass, but it's really good around shallow wood. I'll just use a little bit lighter weight, but I actually like taking the claws off and using it on the jig head and drag it around for smallmouth. It's a great big smallmouth bait, and I've actually even played around with it a little bit on a Nico rig with the claws on. So there's a bunch of different things you can do with it. Another thing is you can Carolina rig it. You know, the reason that this bait is so unique is, one, that the material floats, so it's going to give it a different action no matter how you rig it, which is ideal actually when you're fishing a Carolina rig. But it's going to stand the bait up on the Nico rig, it's going to stand the bait up on the Texas rig, and then when you put a jig head in it, it's going to give it more of an erratic action. So, you know, if you look at the bait, you'll see that the backside is flat, and that's kind of what gives it its action. But there's a couple other characteristics of this bait that I really like. You know, in the years past, I really didn't like flipping a tube just because the hookup percentages wasn't the greatest. I never found a tube that I was comfortable with because I lost a lot of fish. This bait, I don't lose fish on. You know, it has a hard part of the head, but the main thing is it has, you know, this rib profile so that you can skin hook the bait, and it's going to, you know, be completely weedless, but it's not going to, you know, the tube's not going to roll down on the bait like previous tubes, and you're going to get better hookups. Okay, so the hook that I like using with this bait is a 3/0 EWG style hook. You don't want to use anything larger or smaller. You can see the 3/0 EWG fits it perfectly. And usually I'm going to use no heavier than a 1/2 ounce when I'm fishing really deep grass with it. And I'll go as light as 3/16 or a quarter if I'm fishing real shallow with it. But deep I like usually 3/8 to a 1/2, and then shallow 3/16 to 5/16. And so with the 3/0 hook, what I like doing is you'll see that there's one side of the bait that has a flat side. You can tell there's like little eyes in the front of it. It's the opposite of that. You're going to want to start your hook that way. And I only just kind of put a little bit on it. There's enough meat on there so you're going to get a good bite with the shoulder of the hook. You want the flat side the opposite of where the hook point is. So the flat side is going to be on the back side. That's going to give it the best action. But you'll see that once you get that hook through, what I like doing is getting it past those rings and putting it right in the middle. Let it come through, and then what's cool about this bait is you see the ribs on it. I can just take this bait and tuck the point in the ribs so it's completely weedless, or when something grabs it, the hook is right there. The other key that I didn't show you before this, that's important too, with this EWG hook, is that the knot is a snell knot. So my hookup ratio goes way up by snelling it, and that's the best style hook, 3/0 EWG style hook for the Reins Crawtube. Check this out at reinsfishing.com.